Everyone in Ashbury Heights avoided talking about the old Ravenwood apartments, not because the building was dangerous, not because it was abandoned, but because strange things happened after midnight, especially near the elevators. Most residents treated the stories like exaggerated urban legends, old rumors repeated by bored tenants. But Lucas Harper didn't believe in ghost stories, at least, not before he moved into apartment 1408. Lucas was 22 years old, quiet, practical, and trying desperately to rebuild his life after losing his father earlier that year. The cheap rent at Ravenwood Apartments seemed perfect for him. The building itself looked old, but normal enough. 14 floors, hundreds of residents, nothing unusual at first. But during his very first week living there, Lucas noticed something strange. The elevator buttons skipped a number. Floor 15 didn't exist. The panel went directly from 14 to 16. When Lucas casually mentioned it to the old receptionist downstairs, her expression changed immediately. She stopped smiling. "There's no 15th floor," she answered quickly. Too quickly. Then she walked away before Lucas could ask anything else. That should have been the end of it. But strange things kept happening. Late at night, Lucas sometimes heard elevator doors opening outside his apartment. Then footsteps. Slow footsteps walking through the hallway. But every time he checked, nobody was there. One night, around 2:30 a.m., Lucas woke suddenly to the sound of metal scraping outside his door. At first, he thought it was maintenance workers, but when he looked through the peephole, the hallway was completely empty, except for the elevator at the far end. Its doors stood open, waiting. Cold, pale light spilled into the hallway from inside. Lucas stared nervously, then slowly. A new button illuminated inside the elevator panel. Lucas froze. He had never seen that button before. The elevator doors remained open silently, as if inviting him inside. His heartbeat quickened. Every instinct told him to stay inside his apartment, but curiosity slowly overpowered fear. Lucas grabbed his phone flashlight and stepped into the hallway carefully. The elevator light flickered softly, and as he approached, he noticed something horrifying. The metal walls inside the elevator were covered in scratches, deep scratches, like someone had clawed desperately at the doors trying to escape. Then suddenly, the elevator spoke. A soft, distorted female voice echoed from the speaker above. "Floor 15 is now available." Lucas stepped backward immediately. The building had no automated voice system. None. Yet the elevator waited silently. The number 15 glowing bright red. Then softly, the elevator doors began closing by themselves, and just before they fully shut, Lucas heard someone whisper from inside, "Please don't leave me here." Lucas barely slept after that night. The whisper haunted him constantly, especially because it sounded real, terrified, human. The next morning, he questioned several residents about the missing 15th floor, but every single person reacted strangely. Some ignored him completely. Others became visibly nervous. One elderly tenant even grabbed Lucas's arm tightly and whispered, "If the elevator opens there, never get out." Then she walked away shaking. That warning should have been enough. But curiosity is dangerous, especially when mixed with loneliness. 3 nights later, Lucas returned home late after work. The lobby was empty. Rain hammered against the building windows, while thunder echoed outside. As Lucas stepped into the elevator, the hidden button appeared again, bright red, waiting. His breathing became heavier. Then the elevator voice returned softly. Floor 15 is requesting visitors. Lucas stared at the glowing button silently. Then slowly, he pressed it. The elevator doors shut instantly. The descent began. But something felt wrong immediately. The elevator wasn't moving upward. It was going down, far below the building. The lights flickered violently while strange static echoed through the speakers. Then, the elevator stopped suddenly. Ding! The doors opened slowly. Lucas stepped into darkness. A long apartment hallway stretched before him. Old wallpaper peeled from the walls. Dim ceiling lights buzzed overhead. Everything smelled rotten, forgotten. But what terrified Lucas most was the silence. No voices, no televisions, no movement, only silence. Apartment doors lined both sides of the hallway, every single one marked with strange black symbols scratched into the wood. Lucas moved carefully through the corridor. Then suddenly, one apartment door creaked open by itself, very slowly. Inside, faint television light flickered. Lucas swallowed nervously and stepped closer. The apartment looked frozen in time. Old furniture covered in dust, rotting food on the table, family photographs scattered across the floor. And every photograph had the faces scratched out completely. Then the television static changed suddenly. A news broadcast appeared on screen. The date displayed beneath the reporter read, October 14th, 1996. Lucas frowned. That was impossible. Then the reporter spoke. Authorities continue searching for the missing residents of Ravenwood Apartments. Lucas felt cold fear crawl through his chest. Missing residents. Plural. Then suddenly, the television screen glitched violently, and every face on screen turned toward him. Smiling, Lucas backed away from the television immediately. His heart pounded violently inside his chest now. The smiling faces on screen continued staring directly at him, not blinking, not moving, just smiling. Then slowly, the people inside the broadcast began speaking together. Stay with us. The television exploded into static instantly. Lucas stumbled backward in terror. Then he heard movement outside the apartment. Footsteps, dozens of them, slowly approaching through the hallway. Lucas rushed toward the apartment door and peeked outside carefully. Figures stood throughout the corridor now. Tall, dark silhouettes, completely motionless beneath the flickering lights. Lucas couldn't see their faces clearly, but every single figure faced directly toward him, watching, waiting. Then one of them stepped forward slowly, a woman, or something pretending to be one. Her body twitched unnaturally while she walked. Her smile stretched impossibly wide across her pale face, and her eyes were completely black. New resident, she whispered happily. Suddenly, all the hallway lights shut off together. Darkness swallowed everything. Lucas gasped and turned on his phone flashlight desperately. The beam shook violently across the hallway. Empty. All the figures had vanished. But then, softly, someone whispered beside his ear, "Don't let them see your face." Lucas spun around instantly. An old man stood behind him inside the apartment, thin, terrified, human. At least he looked human. The old man grabbed Lucas's arm tightly. "They copy people," he whispered urgently. "Everyone trapped here eventually becomes one of them." Lucas pulled away in horror. "What is this place?" The old man's eyes filled with panic. This floor was sealed after the disappearances, but the elevator still finds people. Suddenly, a loud scream echoed somewhere far down the hallway, then another, then silence. The old man's face turned pale instantly. "They found someone," he whispered. Then the apartment door slammed shut violently behind them, and heavy footsteps began approaching slowly outside. The footsteps outside grew louder, closer. Lucas could hear dozens of voices whispering together through the hallway, laughing softly, crying, imitating human conversations. The old man backed away toward the apartment kitchen, trembling violently. "Don't speak to them," he whispered, "and whatever happens, don't let them touch you." Then suddenly, 3 loud knocks echoed against the apartment door. Bang, bang, bang. The smiling voices outside spoke together. "We know you're inside." Lucas's entire body froze. The door handle began turning slowly. The old man grabbed Lucas desperately. "There's another elevator at the end of the hallway," he whispered. "It's the only way out." Another violent slam shook the apartment. Cracks spread through the wooden door. Lucas nodded fearfully. Then the old man opened the apartment window slowly. Outside, there was no city, no streets, only endless darkness surrounding the building on every side. Like the entire floor existed somewhere outside reality itself. Lucas felt pure panic rising inside him. Then, suddenly, the apartment door exploded inward violently. The black-eyed, smiling figures rushed inside unnaturally fast. The old man screamed. One of the creatures grabbed his face instantly, and horrifyingly, its smile began stretching across the old man's skin like an infection. His eyes turned black within seconds. Then he smiled too. Lucas ran. The hallway behind him filled with distorted laughter, while dozens of creatures chased him through the darkness. Their bones cracked loudly as they moved. Too fast, too unnatural. The emergency lights flickered violently overhead. At the far end of the corridor, Lucas saw another elevator. Old, rust-covered, its doors half open. Lucas sprinted toward it desperately, while the smiling creatures closed in behind him. Then suddenly, the elevator doors began shutting by themselves. Lucas dove through the elevator doors at the last possible second. The metal doors slammed shut violently. Immediately, dozens of black hands smashed against the outside. The elevator shook hard. The smiling creatures screamed horribly from the hallway beyond. Lucas pressed random buttons desperately. Nothing worked. Then, finally, the elevator voice returned softly. "Returning resident to assigned floor." The elevator began moving upward. Fast. Too fast. Lucas collapsed against the wall, shaking violently while screams echoed below him. Then suddenly, the elevator stopped. Ding! The doors opened slowly onto the normal apartment lobby. Warm lights, quiet music, normal reality. Lucas stumbled out, immediately gasping for breath. The receptionist looked up calmly from her desk. Not surprised, not confused, almost disappointed. "You went there," she whispered softly. Lucas stared at her in horror. "That floor is real." The receptionist said nothing. She only slid an old newspaper across the desk silently. Lucas looked down slowly. The headline read, "Ravenwood Apartment Fire Kills Entire 15th Floor. October 14th, 1996. Lucas's blood froze. The exact same date from the television broadcast. Then he noticed something even worse. The newspaper photograph showed all the dead residents standing together outside the building, smiling, black eyes, and in the center of the group was the receptionist herself. Lucas looked up instantly, but the front desk was empty, gone. Then softly, the elevator behind him dinged again. Lucas turned slowly. The hidden button glowed red once more, and from inside the elevator, dozens of smiling voices whispered together, "Welcome home, Lucas.